Top 10 Most Terrifying Things for Humans. What are the most terrifying things in our world? Why do we fear them? What are we afraid of? Fear is an unconscious reaction generated by anxiety over a situation, often triggered by the unwanted appearance of the past. Most of us experience fear in various ways and cope with it differently, confronting the situation that triggers it, avoiding the situation, having faith or religious beliefs, and others. Among all these different ways, facing the situation that triggers it stands out as the best way to cope and overcome fear. Human nature is complex. People have learned to be strong, competitive, and courageous in times of danger. On the other hand, they are also afraid of something. Whether these fears are rational or the product of long-buried traumas that can vary from one person to another. Regardless of the root cause, many people worldwide experience similar fears for various reasons. There are many things that trigger fear in human beings in the world. Here, we present some of the most terrifying things. Heights, acrophobia. One of the most common fears, acrophobia, is the fear of being in high places or on tall structures, such as skyscrapers or helicopters when hovering. It is also sometimes known as aerophobia. This fear is so intense that it can hinder a person from traveling by air or cause significant distress when one is forced to travel by air. People with acrophobia use various coping mechanisms, such as prescription drugs, self-help books, and audio CDs to modify behavior. They might even have enough small bottles of alcohol to make an elephant drunk. These are just a few of the coping mechanisms used by those afraid of flying on airplanes. Dogscynophobia. Fear of dogs is a prevalent challenge in today's pet-loving society. Dogs may be man's best friend, but they can also be the embodiment of a particular fear. Often related to traumas surrounding a childhood attack, the fear of dogs can carry over into adulthood. Unfortunately, a dog likely to attack will be encouraged to do so by your panicked face, making this particular fear one of the most justified. This specific fear of dogs is called cynophobia. Spidersrachnophobia. When we see their spiky legs scurrying across the floor, many of us shudder with fear. While very few spiders in the UK are venomous, it's estimated there are 1 million spiders in this country. This irrational fear of spiders is called arachnophobia. Professor of psychology John May says their angular legs, dark coloring, and the fact they move unpredictably are all things we might find it hard to fear. He says studies have shown people tend to dislike angular shapes and like curved shapes, have a bad association with dark colors, and like creatures we feel we can understand. Mice/rats and Musophobia. Fear of mice and rats is one of the most common specific phobias, often called Musophobia, caused by an unconscious mechanism as a protective mechanism. This mechanism might have been developed at some point in our ancestors when they had an experience with mouse or rat-related injuries. This fear can be triggered by the presence of mice or rats in the room or shop, seeing them on television or in films, making jokes about them, or smelling them. Some people are repulsed by the feeling of mice and rats, while others fear being bitten. Death, Thanatophobia. Many people, if not most, fear death. Some are afraid of death, while others fear the actual act of dying. However, if the fear is so prevalent as to affect your daily life, then you may have a full-fledged phobia. This fear is called Thanatophobia or sometimes necrophobia, a specific irrational fear of things dead as well as things related to death. Blood, Hematophobia. Fear of blood, also called hemophobia or hemophobia, is an unusual and persistent fear of blood. Those with this common phobia fear seeing their own blood, the sight of blood from other people or animals, and sometimes prints or footage of blood. Blood may remind them of their own vulnerability to injury and of the state of death. Darkness. Most people fear darkness unless they want to sleep. The fear of darkness is often not the fear of darkness itself, but the fear of potential dangers hidden by darkness. Most people, when not in a state of sleep, are afraid of the darkness.